Hey guys, what's happening? So continuing with our Venom War coverage, we're now getting into Venom War Spider-Man, where on the surface this reunites Peter with the Venom symbiote. But because of all the crazy things that have happened in Venom Volume 5, this can mean so much more. So let's talk about it. But first, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so for Venom War Spider-Man Issue 1, this initially picks up from what we saw in Venom Issues 34 and 35, during Blood Hunt, when the captive nearly killed the Venom symbiote, who was already weak at this time since it had been separated from Dylan for so long, which like we saw, this left it no choice but to bond with the deceased Lee Price, just long enough for them to defeat the captive, and soon after be met by Meridius, who made his return, only for him to take the zombie Lee Price and leave the Venom symbiote behind with no host. And with the Venom symbiote being in a very dark place at this point, it decided to find a place where it could just curl up and die. And what better place would there be to do that than Peter's closet? But fast forward to Venom War Issue 1, when Peter realized he was putting back on the Venom symbiote. This surprisingly turned into a heartfelt conversation between the two of them, which allowed Peter to get caught up with a lot of the things we've seen take place in the Venom series, most notably the reason why the symbiote's trying to stay away from Dylan, where in that case a lot of it's guilt, since Dylan now knows Venom's dark past, and it turned into this cool thing where Peter gave his speech about responsibility, as he told the symbiote we can't turn away from the choices we made, as Peter agreed to help the symbiote along the way. So now, in Venom War Spider-Man Issue 1, we see the symbiote ever so cautiously placing itself back on Peter. And it's kind of funny how the symbiote's like asking for consent every step of the way, and saying things like, "Are you sure? We can stop at any time." It's kind of like, let's go man, don't make it weird. And Peter's totally cool with it, but the one thing he does say, or the one request that he makes, is that they don't actually bond and keep separate minds. And the symbiote's cool with it, so they head out to make their way to Grand Garden Arena to meet up with Eddie Brock and his symbiote version of NWO, with Eddie Brock recently making his war declaration, which Peter also saw on television earlier, which is why he was heading out to begin with. But as you might imagine, Peter's still trying to wrap his head around some of the weird elements to this whole thing. And I mean, as far as the headlining plot to Venom War, we covered this back when we talked about Venom War Issue 1, as far as what Eddie wants and what Dylan wants and why they're trying to stop each other. But in the here and now, the Venom symbiote's just like the symbiotes have gone to war. Eddie and Dylan and other Eddies controlling other symbiotes, here to kill us. Cause that's all the Venom symbiote's really focused on right now. And aside from that, there's other subplots that the Venom symbiote's not aware of that we'll talk more about in upcoming issues. But as they're on their way, Peter's spider sense goes off out of nowhere. And it's not so much because they're in any immediate danger, but instead it's like an echo of memories, or a nostalgic overdrive if you will. And even though at this time it's not really explained why Peter's seeing these memories, or what each of them actually mean, but at this point I'm thinking it's one of three things. Because it could be 1, previous time travelers causing Peter's memories in the present day to catch up, which would be more Terminator-like stuff. 2, this could be Meridius, who was kicked back to the beginning of time by Eddie Brock, who's recently returned as Mr. Meridius. Or 3, this could have something to do with what the eventuality mentioned, about how it was supposed to be Peter and not Eddie Brock. Because all we really know at this point is that Peter's mind is not bonded with the symbiote, so it's not like these memories are coming from the symbiote. But we'll just have to wait and see what it means over time. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But right after this, Peter's spider sense goes off again, but this time there actually is danger, with him getting attacked by what would seem to be the hobgoblin. And it's funny because for a moment Peter's like, which hobgoblin is it? Are you Roderick or Ned? But it isn't long before the symbiote unmasks this person, and Peter finds out that it's neither. And unfortunately, Peter's not able to do much for this lady when the glider goes into a building, but fortunately the symbiote's able to save Peter at the last minute. And just when they're able to gather themselves, it's here where they find out there are dozens of hobgoblins out here in these streets. But when one of them tells Peter, "You took everything from me, again and again and again. Now all that hate has come to collect," Peter immediately recognizes that voice and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's Roderick Kingsley." And the Venom symbiote's able to tell that the rest of these hobgoblins, much like the woman from earlier, they're all brainwashed. And the Venom symbiote knows this because it can taste the brainwashing like it's a particular flavor that's floating in the air from these people. But there's a moment here where Peter asks the real hobgoblin, how did he know to find him here? So he tells Peter, "You have enemies, Spider-Man, and you have one in high places, who can see through eyes in the sky, told me right where you'd be, which right there is just another hint of someone else targeting Peter. And with Peter now knowing which one's the real hobgoblin, as well as the fact that the rest of these people are just brainwashed, Peter mainly focuses on him. And as far as the Venom symbiote telling him that he can tell these people are brainwashed because he can taste it, Peter makes sure to tell the Venom symbiote that eating brains are off limit, buddy. So the symbiote agrees, but only because he called him buddy. And things get turned up here when the hobgoblin catches them with a pumpkin bomb, which they're able to deflect this time, allowing Peter to jump through the fire of this explosion and catch the hobgoblin off guard with a direct hit. But when they do, Peter starts to go off on the aggressive end, and mainly out of frustration, because he's more concerned about the innocent people who are being harmed throughout all this, who are also trying to kill him in the process. So Venom lets him know that's exactly what the hobgoblin wants. He's using Peter's obsessive need to save everyone against him. So for a moment, Venom's like, let me help you out here, because the symbiote's got a number of upgrades since the last time him and Peter bonded. And one of those upgrades is being able to produce steel, as the symbiote breaks out with the Venom chains, and he switches up their whole look. And these web chains that we initially saw at the end of King in Black, when Dylan put on the symbiote. When this rolled into Venom Volume 5, we learned it was a sign of the symbiote's evolution. So after the symbiote survives a series of difficult events, or is placed through a sequence of hardships, it becomes more powerful. So now this is like Peter getting a taste of the great power that the symbiote has attained since the last time they bonded. But just after this, both the hobgoblin and all the other brainwashed cosplay goblins, they all come after Peter together. And at first he's able to evade a number of the attacks, but not all of them. And again, the thing that's making this extremely difficult is the fact that Peter's trying to save these civilians at the same time. And it makes for a very Spider-Manly moment with Peter and the Venom symbiote working together, where he's like, we are Spider-Man, as opposed to the classic saying of we are Venom. But while they're here stretched out, Hobgoblin's more or less like, nah, I'm gonna tell you what we are. An easy target, because after that he just gets it to rain pumpkin bombs right on top of Spider-Man. And it's a big enough of an explosion to light up multiple blocks. But when the dust settles, we see that Peter and the Venom symbiote were shielded and protected by Jackpot, aka Mary Jane, which has been a thing for a while now. She has this bracelet that'll give her random powers like a slot machine. So yeah, that technology is pretty much the exact opposite of Felicia Hardy's bad luck. And you know, to be honest with you, this feels a lot like when Iris West was like, we are the Flash. It's giving that same type of vibe for me, and I'm just not crazy about it. But either way, when Jackpot shows up, she definitely makes a comment about seeing Peter back in black, and it's really just like, oh man, you're back in that parasite? And I mean, I'm surprised Peter didn't roast her, because I mean, we're not gonna start with this outfit. And I mean, no disrespect to Paul or Felicia for hooking her up with the threads, but this Booster Gold Harley Quinn mashup, it just ain't doing it for me. But nonetheless, they don't spend too much time talking about the symbiote, but MJ's reaction is just enough to let the symbiote know that she hates the symbiote just as much as Peter loves her. But this conversation's cut short, because from here they cut the small talk and focus on saving people who are in danger. And following this, next we head over to Alchemax, where we find Mr. Meridius enjoying the view, as he says, back with Peter, so predictable. Always thought I was the dumb one, didn't you? But here I am, outthinking you, outplaying you, even outmaneuvering Spider-Man, waiting patiently through the entire history of this planet to bring the chaos I'll unleash tonight. Somewhere in your mind, I hope you can hear this. The only thing I'm gonna enjoy more than watching this wreck your world is killing your little friend, and at the end of all things, you will be mine. To where next we see Meridius push a button on a remote, which then causes the black substance to cover the Hobgoblin and all the other goblins. And as they're all being pulled together, a voice emerges saying, I am free. Free is us. And we are the arachniote. Not to be mistaken with Tarantula. But as soon as this thing shows up, the Venom symbiote recognizes it, and he tells Peter this thing's a legend of Clintar, the mind who consumes all it encounters. Nothing has ever survived its touch. It was feared even by Knull. And the symbiote goes on to say, if we're gonna have a chance, I cannot just be your costume. You must be my host. The bond remade. Our minds as one. We must be together. We must be Venom. Which is some really heavy words right there. Because apparently whoever bonds with the Venom symbiote, they could potentially bring on the end of the world. So yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.